Now, a Democratic Alliance motion of no confidence in Gauteng Premier David Makhura has failed in the provincial legislature after the ANC garnered enough votes to reject it. The opposition party is accusing Makhura of evading accountability in the province's PPE procurement scandal, saying that he is unfit to continue as head of the provincial government. Let's unpack the story now. We're joined by Solly Msimanga, who is the leader of the DA in Gauteng and joins us now via our video line. Solly, good morning. Thanks very much for your time this morning on the AM report. So, I mean, the last time David Makhura faced a motion of no confidence against him was in the wake of the Life Isirimeni tragedy, now in the wake of thousands of rands of PPE corruption scandals, but it's failed again.
Well, Michelle, let me correct one thing, and good morning to you and good morning to the viewers at home. It's not thousands, it's millions. In fact, it's billions. Just from the Department of Health, we are talking 2.2 billion rand. From the Department of Education, we're talking over 431 million rand that, empty schools were sanitized. And not all the schools of Gauteng, but some of the schools in Gauteng were sanitized at the cost of 431 billion rand, 431 million rand. So, and it goes on and on. So I can give you quite a long list of all these things that have happened under David Makhura that, the ANC members felt that it's better to protect the comrade than to protect the interest of the residents of Gauteng.
What do you say to David Makhura's response, particularly in light of the PPE corruption scandals, in that he has held the people who are alleged to have been behind it accountable?
Well, Michelle, let's start in his own office. In the tribunal report states that somebody in the office or the office of the Premier had given instruction that the contracts must be given to certain companies. Let's start there. Let's not even go to other departments. Let's start in the Premier's office where he's supposed to have, ultimate control. But, the people, he says it's not him. He went to court to then come and tell us that it was not him that had given that instruction. But then he has done absolutely nothing to find out who then in his department has done this. He says that he has now instituted an investigation into what has happened. We don't have any confidence that he will actually deal with this. Remember, even before COVID landed on our shores, Premier Makhura has been sitting on over 78 forensic investigations that has supposed to have been completed. Some of them, by the way, including fingering some of the members of his own cabinet, and he's failed to deal with that. So we don't have any confidence that he will indeed deal with any of the issues that are rising right now.
Look, Solly, I mean, in a situation where he is the Premier and he has people who are controlling the budgets of, for example, the Provincial Health Department, is it a fair question to say that, even though he's held those people accountable, he is still the one who needs to go?
Well, he's failed to act. That's where the problem is. He's failed to act. The buck stops with the Premier.
Yeah.
If he failed to act in Life Isirimeni, remember when Life Isirimeni came out first, he went to the hills trying to protect Katani Mahlangu. Even went as far as calling Jack a racist and Jack a non-progressive person. Well, Jack Bloom was actually putting to the table that what they're about to do was wrong. And even when the issues of Life Isirimeni started, manifesting and then showing signs that people are dying, people are disappearing, David Makhura was at the forefront of protecting that. What has happened? Let's fast forward to now. What has happened? We hear the 431 million that has gone. Did he suspend anybody? Did he question anybody? No. He went and protected and said, we will look into the matter. We will then see what can be done from there. What happened to the 2.2 billion? Nobody was ever fired. In fact, Makhura had been threatened, to not speak about what had been happening in that particular department, the instruction that she has been receiving from the seniors in that particular government. And therefore, we cannot expect that David Makhura doesn't know what has been happening. We cannot then continue to expect that he should not be held to account for what is happening there. He is the ultimate, responsibility taker in this particular government of Gauteng, and he should fall when things are not going right.
So I understand there were two motions of no confidence against the Premier in connection with the Life Esidimeni tragedy and this latest motion of no confidence now also failing, what does that mean in terms of next steps for the opposition?
Well, there's quite a number of things that we'll continue doing. In fact, we have already started. We're meeting this morning to discuss some of them. And we will be coming to the media. We'll be talking to you about how employees in David Makhura's office and even totally in the department, in a number of departments across Gauteng, are working without contracts, and this being paid millions of rands every month. We will be talking about the continued, cases that have been finalized, but yet, cases that of corruption and maladministration and fruitless exercises that has actually occurred, but not a single cent has been recovered. And yet we have a premier that says, it wasn't me, I don't know what is happening here. And therefore we ask the question, how is he fit to continue to hold office? So we will continue to put pressure, we will continue to expose some of these things, both internally in the legislature and externally as well, so that the public will know exactly what kind of government that we are dealing with. And then we will ultimately hold, this government to account. And the people of Gauteng should actually know and see what this whole thing is all about. And let me say also, Michelle, that David Makhura had promised us that Gauteng future doesn't include e-tolls. And yet, 2 weeks ago, we have, the Gazette that comes out with new tariffs in terms of what we should be paying for the e-tolls. Now the question is this somebody that the people of Gauteng can continue to trust to lead them going forward? I don't certainly think so.
I want to talk to you about just the breakdown of the votes. The ANC in the legislature defeating your motion of no confidence with the help of the IFP. Were you surprised by the IFP's voting alongside the governing party in this motion, the EFF and the EFF, voting with you, the ACDP abstaining from that vote? A bit of politicking here as well?
Well, we are actually questioning this, disputing the results. I'll tell you, we have 73 members in the legislature. The speaker hasn't voted and didn't meet or doesn't vote until there's a tie. There were 2 people that were absent. There was also a vote by the IFP that said yes when it was recorded, and then when the ANC started shouting, then it changed and it said no, and this is on record, it's recorded. Therefore, the voting, if you were to tally it, is actually supposed to be up to 69 people, which means that it should have been 35 for the ANC and 34 for the DA. And the DA and then EFF, so for the opposition, if I might call it that. So, of course, there was one abstention and, 3 that were not supposed to have voted. But that is something that we'll then deal with. Yeah. Now, the IFP person then says yes, and then there's a shouting, and then he says no. And then that is recorded. And this is somebody that has been made a chairperson of a portfolio committee, enjoys quite a good relationship with the ANC. And yeah, we're not surprised that, in one end, they will go out and campaign and say service has not been delivered. Government must be held to account. On the other end, when it comes to holding government to account, they will not do it because they seem to be enjoying the cushy jobs and the perks that comes with the salaries.
Solly Msimanga, thanks very much for coming onto the channel, unpacking a whole range of issues, but particularly focusing on Gauteng Premier David Makhura surviving another motion of no confidence in the legislature. Solly Msimanga is the leader of the Democratic Alliance in Gauteng.